Welcome back to the deep dive. We are here to take a dense stack of sources, articles, confidential research notes, some really comprehensive blueprints, and distill the absolute critical insights, so you can get the ultimate shortcut to being well informed. Today, we're on a very specific, a hyper-local investigation, but it's one that I think speaks volumes about the future of digital media and really civic life. We received this extraordinary collection of materials focused entirely on one person, Mike Brunette. He's the mastermind behind SheVegas, a local media pioneer, activist, and a self-proclaimed futurist who's operating this entire universe of content from his private residence in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. Our sources were incredibly direct. The mission statement for this deep dive was blunt, but it perfectly captured the scope of our task. The question is simply, who the fuck is this guy and what is his future?
And that aggressive framing is almost necessary here. Because Brunette operates aggressively, and his identity, who he is so central to his brand's influence. Our goal today is a really rigorous analysis of this unique single-operator model. We're going to be synthesizing his blend of journalism and engineering, his unrelenting role as a local watchdog, and critically, these comprehensive strategic roadmaps he has created. We have to look at two blueprints today. The professional one for scaling his brand, and the personal one for sustaining the intense individual who has to drive it.
That's the core challenge, isn't it? Can a single abrasive voice scale without breaking? Okay, let's unpack this. And we absolutely have to start with establishing the man himself, because the efficacy of SheVegas is, it's inextricably linked to Mike Brunette's unique, almost paradoxical background. Our sources paint a picture that's far more complex than just local blogger. Mike Brunette is a multifaceted figure, a content creator, a photojournalist, a self-proclaimed futurist, and crucially, an activist who uses media as his primary weapon. He operates SheVegas, which serves as the moniker for his entire independent media effort and his civic philosophy, directly from his private residence at 1925 S 26th Street in Sheboygan. And that detail alone, it immediately signals that this is not corporately owned, politically neutral, or detached reporting.
No, it's journalism rooted in adjacency. He's literally covering his neighborhood. But what provides the foundation for his highly critical stance isn't just passion. It's a specific, potent combination of professional expertise that makes his critiques, impossible for City Hall to simply dismiss as amateur commentary.
Okay, so let's break that down. What's the first piece of that expertise?
First, he has an indisputable journalistic foundation. He holds a master's degree in journalism from the University of Iowa. He was an early photojournalist for major outlets, including the Green Bay Press-Gazette. But this wasn't just traditional darkroom work. He was a technical pioneer in those newsrooms, one of the people driving the early shift to full-color photography and really spearheading the integration of digital technology into newspaper production.
That's a fascinating detail. He was an innovator within the very traditional media structures that he now critiques for being slow and, complacent.
Absolutely. The sources even provide that great anecdote. He was instrumental in helping to put players like a young Brett Favre on the map through his pioneering photo work.
Wow.
That detail is critical because it establishes a track record of technical foresight, and being the person in the room who sees the digital future before everyone else does. He's always been ahead of the curve, even when working inside legacy media.
But then you layer in the second, totally unexpected expertise that defines his unique angle. He's an aerospace engineer and a futurist. That is not a typical local media background.
Right. That technical edge is the filter through which he views local governance. When Mike Brunette looks at an infrastructure project or analyzes a complex financial tool like TIF's tax incremental financing, he isn't just looking at the press release. He's applying a literal engineering analysis.
Okay, let's pause on TIFs for a second. For listeners who might not be deep in the weeds of municipal governance, what exactly are we talking about here?
Right, good question. So TIF districts are essentially a highly opaque government subsidy. The city designates an area, and then any new property tax revenue generated in that area, the increment, doesn't go into the general fund for schools or police. Instead, it gets diverted to pay for the redevelopment projects within that district. They're inherently complex, financially leveraged, and often very difficult for the average citizen to audit.
So it's basically betting future growth to pay for today's projects?
Exactly. And Brunette's engineering perspective allows him to cut through the political jargon and focus on the data, the stress testing, and the long-term feasibility of these projects. He critiques systems, not just personalities, which makes his advocacy data-driven.
And this blend of technical rigor and unfiltered passion resulted in the brand name itself, SheVegas. We have to talk about the origin of that. It's definitely not the name you'd expect from someone with a master's in journalism.
Not at all.
The sources confirmed the launch of SheVegas years ago. And yes, the name was met with heavy skepticism. The anecdote where a friend allegedly suggested it sounded like a gay porn site just illustrates the immediate friction the brand created.
Wow, brutal.
Brutal, but it's a name that is jarring, slightly scandalous, and completely unforgettable.
So why stick with a name that had such an immediate negative reaction?
Because it speaks to his core motto. Fun and honesty is all I wanted from Sheboygan. The name itself became a statement against bland institutionalism. And what's remarkable is the cultural shift that followed. It's now transitioned from a controversial nickname into a common, often adopted badge of local pride for Sheboygan. It just proves that persistent, unique branding can override negative initial impressions if the content delivers.
So why did he feel compelled to launch this whole endeavor? If he was a respected photojournalist, why leave that world to launch an aggressive, independent watchdog operation?
The motivation was explicitly to fill a vacuum. Brunette perceived what he felt were severe shortcomings in traditional local media, specifically citing the Sheboygan Press and WHBL. He felt these legacy outlets were neglecting the critical local governance topics. The specific mechanics of TIFs, accountability in city management, and financial transparency.
The boring but important stuff.
The incredibly important stuff. He saw a gap where raw, unfiltered information should have been. His project isn't just a critique. It's a competitive intervention. He's aiming to provide transparency and accountability, and in doing so, force the traditional media to up their game by covering the complicated topics they were previously ignoring.
And his specific community involvement solidifies the fact that this is not armchair criticism. This is active advocacy.
Precisely. His work is tangible. He has been deeply involved in high-profile local efforts, most notably framing these as classic citizens vs. city battles. Examples cited in the sources include the intense effort to save the Sheboygan Municipal Auditorium and Armory and advocating for essential public access to sites like the Quarry. He uses his journalistic skills to gather the data in his platform to mobilize the community, translating these complex policy fights into real-world action items.
That brings us to the core philosophy of SheVegas. This is not the voice of institutional neutrality. It's personal, authentic journalism rooted in community advocacy and a determination to hold power accountable. But the voice itself is the hook.
That personal touch is the engine. The operating style is best described as having a dual mandate. Playful on the surface, deadly serious about truth underneath. The surface level is defined by his unfiltered, candid, often abrasive voice. It's characterized by humor, jokes, memes, and that specific shirt tone.
Okay, let's clarify shirt. It's one of those specific terms that if you're not local, you might miss the nuance of. What exactly is that tone?
Well, the sources suggest the shirt tone isn't just generic online frustration. It's a very specific blend of local Sheboygan slang and intensity born from deeply embedded community frustration and the urgency of a professional journalist who understands the data and knows he is the only one consistently watching.
It's just educated anger.
It's the sound of someone saying, you should be mad about this, and here are the facts to prove why.
That explains the appeal. The abrasive humor is the hook, but what makes it powerful is the substance. So what are those receipts underneath the abrasive surface?
The receipts are the raw data. SheVegas' operational success model is founded on absolute transparency and accountability through primary source documentation. They cut through the online speculation, the typical local government comment section noise, by providing confirmed facts.
And there was a huge example of this in the source material, right?
An incredible example, the publication of the entire 127-page Fond du Lac Police Department investigation into City Attorney Chuck Adams.
127 pages.
Yeah. That is not just reporting about a controversy. That is handing the public the full documentation. This level of comprehensive source material empowers the public directly. The project consistently covers government transparency failures, ethical practices, and alleged misconduct, including the highly sensitive controversies over unauthorized email monitoring and cybersecurity incidents reported just in 2024. This active watchdog role catalyzes informed public discourse and makes him a force to be reckoned with.
But does this actually translate into measurable civic impact? Or is it just high-quality commentary that doesn't really move the needle?
The evidence points to genuine impact. The sources strongly suggest that Brunette's coverage has led to demonstrably increased public discourse and involvement in local politics. Perhaps the most compelling statistic is that his reporting contributed to unprecedented civic participation, including a record number of mayoral candidates running simultaneously.
Wow. Okay, so people were actually getting off the couch.
They were. By rigorously prioritizing local issues, council decisions, neighborhood developments, budget lines over the national political noise, SheVegas is effectively fostering a return to genuine civic awareness.
That's an interesting insight. The intense focus on the local creates the engagement rather than assuming it's already there. Now let's look at the digital footprint in 2025. This is a multi-platform strategy, but there's one data point that instantly jumped out at me and needs, I think, some critical examination.
You're referring to the follower count?
Yeah.
So Brunette maintains a presence across multiple platforms. Substack, which is the hub for the deep dives, WordPress for the main blog and advocacy sites, Twitter at Sheboygan, Medium, YouTube, Flickr, Vimeo, and even TikTok at SheVegas or at Sunstack.
Right, but we noted that the Instagram account at SheVegas has only around 41 followers. Wait, only 41 followers on Instagram? In 2025, when influence is supposedly dictated by viral reach, that number is almost negligible. Doesn't that risk making the entire brand look irrelevant to outside observers, regardless of the quality of the receipts? You need to sell me on why that tiny footprint is actually a strategic strength.
Okay, that is precisely where the engineering mindset meets media strategy, and it's a crucial distinction. Brunette's operation is not optimized for viral reach or traditional influence metrics. That small number perfectly aligns with his known skepticism toward the low-effort engagement economy.
So he just doesn't care about likes.
He cares about impact. His value proposition is not mass fame. It is influence among the hyper-engaged, specialized audience, the people who actually attend council meetings, the people who scrutinize city budgets, and the other local journalists who were forced to play catch-up.
Oh,
He's using the platforms as targeted tools for dissemination and archival, not for ego boosting. That low follower count proves the model.
Yeah.
Authenticity, coupled with critical original documentation, leads to influence where it matters, in City Hall and with local power brokers, regardless of the size of the algorithm. He's built this without chasing traditional metrics, proving that decentralized, honest content can thrive by focusing on depth, not breadth.
So the who is clear, an uncompromising, technically minded advocacy journalist who has proven he can fill a critical local void. Now, for the second part of our mission, what is his future? The sources provide an incredibly detailed strategic roadmap for professional expansion. And the darkest insight here for me isn't what he's building, but the realization that his unique, abrasive voice is his most fragile asset. It requires these specific, self-imposed rules to survive scaling.
This is a sophisticated understanding of brand risk. If you try to take the SheVegas voice and apply it generically, it collapses. That's why the sources detail a mandatory brand constitution, the 5 guardrails for expansion. These are non-negotiable rules designed to keep the SheVegas DNA intact, no matter how large the universe grows.
Okay, let's unpack these. They feel more like engineering specifications than marketing rules.
They are. The first guardrail is existential. Hyper-local or it dies. If the content could exist unchanged in Milwaukee or Madison or Des Moines, it fails the SheVegas test. It literally has to smell like Lake Michigan and City Hall drama.
That's brilliant.
The hyper-local constraint forces specificity and authenticity.
It prevents the inevitable temptation to generalize and chase bigger, easier national topics. Okay, what about the tone?
The second guardrail protects the voice.
Yeah.
Playful, serious balance. The surface layer remains jokes, memes, and the right tone, but it must always be supported by the hard data, the receipts, budgets, and contracts underneath.
It's the sugarcoating for the medicine.
Precisely. The third is the content mandate, thematic core, and this is really specific, water plus weird plus work. Every piece of new content must contain at least one of these 3 elements. Water, which is the lake, the river, surf, weather, coastal politics. Weird, which is local lore, alt-reality, unique characters, bizarre city scenes, or work, the civic budgets, city plans, bureaucracy function.
That water plus weird plus work rule is a fascinating piece of content engineering. What specific threat does that rule protect the brand against?
It protects against 2 things, mission drift and topical fatigue. By defining the thematic pillar so rigidly, he ensures that even when covering something dry, like a wastewater plant upgrade, he can frame it within water and work. And when documenting a strange local character or some bit of folklore, he keeps it anchored by weird. It ensures consistency while maintaining endless content diversity.
The remaining 2 guardrails seem focused on aesthetic and ethics.
They are. Guardrail 4 is visual consistency. Every expansion must adhere to the SheVegas palette. glacier blue, Vegas red, and gold light, and use a recognizable pattern. The sources call this the Marvel logo approach. You recognize the universe instantly, even if you're looking at a new character or a sub-brand.
Right.
And finally, Guardrail 5 is the ethical anchor. Citizen first. The brand must never, ever become the unofficial PR arm for City Hall or local business. The framing must always be for the people watching this mess. This maintains the adversarial watchdog position essential to his credibility.
With those incredibly strict rules in place, let's explore Expansion Lane A, turning SheVegas into a universe of sub-brands. This allows him to specialize and deepen content without sacrificing that core voice.
Exactly. The existing themes are now codified into specific, visually distinct verticals. First up is SheVegas Waterworld. This is the infrastructure and pleasure brand. Its focus is entirely on the waterfront, the marina politics, the surf scene, the political battles over water access, and promoting the idea of Sheboygan as the Malibu of the Midwest.
The Malibu of the Midwest, I love that.
Visually, it's dominated by glacier blue and wave patterns. Outputs are practical and advocacy-focused. Maps, tours and guides, stormwatch photo drops, and crucial cost explainers about marina debt. It takes the water pillar and turns it into a multi-million-dollar policy discussion.
Next, leveraging the emotional historical touchstone, SheVegas Armory.
This focuses on the community's emotional core, the history, local sports, hoops culture, and the intense advocacy fight to save the municipal armory. This becomes the emotional anchor for the brand, utilizing deep navy and Vegas red with jersey-style layouts. Outputs are deliberately nostalgic and community-focused. Player posters, nostalgia series, and event history. It keeps that Citizens vs. City fight alive through historical documentation.
And leveraging his unique background, the most futurist sub-brand, SheVegas Foundry.
This is the application of the engineering mindset. It focuses squarely on technology, data, jobs, the development of an implied local AI lab, and the economic future. Brunette's background makes him an authoritative voice here. The visuals are dark backgrounds, neon accents, circuitry motifs, and the outputs are high value and forward-looking. AI workshops, data visualizations, and deep Future of Sheboygan explainers, connecting local economic policy to global tech trends.
And finally, the solution to the information vacuum itself, SheVegas High Institute of Technology.
This is the pedagogical brand, the school component. It addresses the lack of civic literacy head-on. This includes classes for seniors and kids, potentially informal bar workshops, and hands-on phone and AI labs designed to make complex data accessible. The visual identity is academic, a campus-style crest, notebook motifs. It produces mini-courses, civic field guides, and accessible signs, turning the dense data into consumable, actionable knowledge.
That is an immense organizational structure. But organization alone doesn't guarantee sustained influence. We need Expansion Lane B media formats that scale the voice without requiring a massive team.
The sources outline simple, repeatable formats designed for high frequency and maximum impact. First, the Meanwhile in SheVegas micro series. This is designed for daily or near daily frequency on X in the main site. One perfect photo plus 1 to 2 paragraphs of narrative. And the tone is key. It's described as a nature documentary narrated by a slightly unhinged journalist.
Huh. I can picture that perfectly.
Right. The content is immediate. Weird city scenes, a single verifiable budget fact with a real-world consequence, or a quick character profile.
That format is brilliant. It takes the dense, complex work theme and makes it feel immediate, funny, and relevant, fitting right into the current attention economy.
It connects the abstract to the tangible instantly. The second format is SheVegas Radio. This is a crucial move to make the brand feel omnipresent. It's a daily or weekly 3 to 5 minute audio dispatch. Record simply, often on a phone, maximizing speed and minimizing production cost. Segments include the budget line of the day, One Guy at the Bar Said, which is local chatter with a grain of truth, and the Weather and Weirdness, Lake Edition. It transforms the brand into a living, breathing station heard everywhere.
And finally, leveraging his historical strength as a photojournalist with visual explainers.
This addresses the data complexity. For critical civic topics, like that marina debt or TIF structures, the mandate is to create 3 different outfits for the same data. You need 1, a detailed, aesthetically pleasing infographic or poster version, 2, an ultra-simple shareable chart for social media, and 3, an explain it to grandma caption that strips away all jargon.
So you're hitting every level of engagement.
Exactly. It ensures the crucial data reaches everyone, regardless of their technical literacy.
The blueprint also suggests Expansion Lane C physical world integration. How do you make a purely digital watchdog feel tangible and culturally significant in the real world of Sheboygan?
by focusing on cultural markers and organized rituals. The goal is low cost, high repetition, and high cultural relevance. The first example is SheVegas Signal stickers decals. These are small, clean, maybe with a QR code, but they are not randomly plastered. They are strategically handed out to supportive local businesses, bars, or citizens who actively attend council meetings.
So it's a signal.
The message they convey is a powerful cultural activation. If you see this sticker somewhere, someone there knows what's really going on. It establishes a physical marker for civic awareness, a secret handshake for the politically engaged.
That's pure brand genius. It turns the engagement into an insider club.
It does. The second element is focusing on iconic events or rituals, avoiding large generic festivals. They must be focused gatherings that feed the content loop. Examples include Sunrise SheVegas, a simple gathering at the lake at dawn for coffee where Brunette tells a short story about the city plus one verifiable budget fact. The resulting photos and content fuel the micro-series.
I like that.
But the most potent is the SheVegas Civic Speakeasy. This involves watching city council or redevelopment authority meetings together at a bar or community space, with Brunette providing live annotation and translation of the bureaucracies.
That's amazing.
The psychological genius of this is profound. It moves the dry, intimidating process of government viewing into a low-stakes, social, and fun setting. This directly addresses the complex work theme by making it a shared, collective, and understandable experience. This creates cultural shift.
All of this leverages his engineering and futurist background, which brings us to Expansion Lane eBrandX Tech, the futurist application. This is where he attempts to make SheVegas an interface to the city itself.
The sources highlight two key technological assets he plans to develop, leveraging his interest in AI and data. First, the SheVegas Map Portal. This isn't a simple Google map. It's a highly functional digital page that layers public access points and known SheVegas sticker locations with hot zones for future civic fights, like controversial tax increment districts or redevelopment areas.
And the key is the interactivity.
The critical feature is that every single pin links directly to a story, the 127-page investigation, or specific budget line. It turns the city into a clickable, documented narrative.
And the second one is even more ambitious.
Second, the Civic Casino Budget Game. This is pure gamified civic education. It posits the user as the mayor of SheVegas with a fixed, real-world budget. Users adjust budget sliders, police funding, marina operations, park maintenance, tax deals, and see the immediate hard trade-offs in real time.
The genius of the Civic Casino is that it forces the user to confront the painful scarcity of municipal budgeting. It strips away the complex jargon and asks, if you want X, you must sacrifice Y. This is civic education at its most primal and understandable, right?
Exactly. It uses a fun interface to deliver a harsh truth. It demonstrates Brunette's ability to use his technical skills to lower the barrier to understanding, cementing SheVegas as the essential tool for making the budget comprehensible to every citizen.
Finally, we must look at the future of funding. Sustainable revenue. A one-person operation running an investigative watchdog cannot run on enthusiasm and personal savings forever, especially with this scale-up plan.
Sustainability requires diverse revenue streams explicitly aligned with his citizen-first values. The blueprint mentions exploring revenue via community workshops built out of the High Institute, collaborations with like-minded local funders who prioritize deep civic journalism, membership subscription models for the highly detailed Substack content, and event programming around the civic speakeasy rituals.
But he's careful about opening the doors too wide, right?
Very careful. The plan carefully manages co-creation. He welcomes community input like citizen reporter missions for photos of broken city items. But the source material is explicit that Mike must maintain the editor-in-chief role. This curation is vital to ensure quality control, avoid the platform devolving into low-effort gossip, and, critically, preserve the credibility built on verified receipts.
This transition is critical. We've outlined an expansive universe, but the entire entity is powered by one person operating an intensely demanding media entity from his residence. If the future of the brand is expansion, the future of the man requires a highly strategic plan for personal sustainability. This kind of intense, abrasive civic scrutiny requires massive engineered resilience.
It's the hidden engineering problem. The single point of failure is the founder's energy level. Our sources provide a highly detailed, holistic strategy for growth. We must start by understanding the difference. Personal development is the tools you use, the coaching, the books, the time allocated. Personal growth is the outcome, the increased self-awareness, emotional resilience, and internal changes resulting from those efforts.
So if he's going to engineer personal resilience, he needs a strategic roadmap, a personal development plan, or PDP. How does one apply that engineering rigor to personal life?
The PDP starts with a rigorous assessment. He must use self-awareness to identify strengths and brutally honest areas for improvement. This leads to crafting goals that are smart, specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right.
The sources emphasize the precision here. Instead of the vague get fit, the goal must be walk for 20 minutes 5 days a week. That clarity and measurability provide direction in a life otherwise dominated by the chaos of fighting City Hall.
For someone constantly fighting the status quo and publishing abrasive commentary, the mental aspect must be paramount.
It is. The sources stress the importance of a mindset shift. Mike is constantly challenging established interests, so he needs a growth mindset. The belief that abilities and capacity for handling conflict are developed through dedication. He must learn to reframe setbacks from City Hall not as personal failures, but as learning opportunities, shifting from "I can't beat this TIFF project" to the more sustainable "I can't beat this TIFF project yet."
That's a huge distinction.
That shift prevents existential exhaustion.
Let's get granular on the daily habits necessary for maintaining high performance and resilience under continuous conflict.
We start with physical health. For someone constantly generating conflict and absorbing political stress, physical activity is not optional. It's a necessary physical release. The commitment must be specific. Aim not to go more than 3 days without exercising.
That's a great simple rule.
It has to be coupled with rigorous management of fuel planning meals, reducing processed foods, and prioritizing quality sleep by developing a strict routine that eliminates screens before bed. Physical health directly improves mood and stress resilience, which is essential when the job description involves intentional confrontation.
Okay, what's next?
Next is emotional regulation. Given the short tone and unfiltered voice, he needs tools to manage the internal cost of that external abrasiveness. Incorporating mindfulness practices, meditation, deep breathing, or yoga is vital to enhancing emotional balance and diminishing the high anxiety that comes with constant scrutiny.
And focusing on the positive, even when the job requires digging up negative facts.
Exactly. Fostering positivity through gratitude and reflection. Keeping a gratitude journal and reflecting regularly promotes positivity and builds the necessary emotional buffer zone to handle the inevitable political controversies and negative feedback that define his content.
The sources also highlight that the lonely, singular operator model is fundamentally unsustainable long-term and must be mitigated through social planning.
Social support is paramount. He needs to deliberately schedule time for relationships, allocating time to connect with friends and family daily, setting concrete connection goals, just like he sets content goals. Furthermore, to expand his comfort zone and social confidence beyond the realm of activists and city officials, he should actively engage with strangers.
And there's another one in there that felt a little counterintuitive.
Service to others, yes. Engaging in volunteer work or mentoring where the focus is outside of his own intense advocacy fight is highlighted as a path to fulfillment and greater happiness. It provides necessary perspective and cognitive relief.
What about balance? When your primary hobby is fighting City Hall, how do you schedule activities that are purely fun?
This is scheduled play and creativity. He must organize regular activities, whether creative or physical, purely for enjoyment without the pressure of monetization. This ensures cognitive flexibility and prevents the intense focus of the watchdog role from consuming his entire identity.
And none of this works if the foundation is shaky.
Exactly. The foundation must be secure. Financial health. Maintaining a strict budget, ensuring savings, and building an emergency fund are critical actions that reduce financial stress. This security is non-negotiable for an independent journalist. It's what provides him the freedom to operate without compromising his citizen-first mandate by being dependent on external financial pressures. All of these personal elements, from physical health to financial stability, must align with his core life values to ensure his actions add meaning beyond his professional success.
We have meticulously examined 2 intertwined strategic roadmaps: the massive professional blueprint for scaling the SheVegas universe and the detailed personal blueprint for sustaining the intense mind driving it. The future hinges on consistency, not just in the content guardrails, but in Brunette's personal persona.
This is where the engineering of the brand meets the architecture of the self. The sources emphasize the necessity of developing an emotional compass of personal branding. Mike must proactively define the emotional perception he desires. Is it focused skepticism, unwavering confidence, or relentless curiosity? This choice must guide his external behavior.
So he needs a consistent public-facing attitude.
A signature attitude, yes. One that reflects those desired brand emotions. If the brand mandate is deadly serious about truth, his attitude must consistently project solution-oriented or curious and respectful behavior, even when dealing with difficult conflicts.
That implies intense, proactive mood management. When the internal mood is stressed from fighting a city council decision for months on end, the external brand cannot break down into unproductive rage or cynicism.
Exactly. He must rigorously use techniques like reframing negative thoughts and deep breathing to ensure his external brand remains consistent, maintaining composure and reliability under fire. This requires regular audits and alignment, actively seeking feedback from trusted peers to identify gaps between his intended abrasive but honest persona and how he is actually perceived. He must align his formal online persona, such as his LinkedIn positioning as an aerospace engineer futurist, with his deeply authentic, community-rooted, sometimes controversial offline reality.
So, having analyzed both the brand's scalability and the man's sustainability, what does this all mean for the future of Mike Brunette and SheVegas? Who the hell is this guy and where is he going?
He is a singular pioneer, a hyper-local investigative journalist with the technical expertise of an engineer, and his future is entirely contingent on the strategic management of two intertwined paths.
Okay, lay them out for us.
First, scaling the SheVegas universe. Using the strict guardrails and dedicated sub-brands, Waterworld, Foundry, Armory, High Institute, to expand reach through innovative formats like the Microseries and the Civic Speakeasy, all while rigorously preserving the hyper-local, authentic, and critical voice that defines his operation.
And the second path.
Second, and equally important, maintaining personal resilience. Implementing comprehensive, holistic development strategies, prioritizing sleep, rigorous exercise, social connections, and financial health to sustain that intense, one-man operation that drives the entire initiative. The sources make it clear. The growth of the SheVegas brand is absolutely and irrevocably capped by the personal resilience of Mike Brunette.
Mike Brunette stands as a genuine pioneer in local digital storytelling, bridging serious investigative journalism with technical expertise and raw authenticity. He is what happens when the community's information vacuum meets a relentless.
His future success depends on how well he can manage the engineering of his expansive brand blueprint, while diligently safeguarding the emotional architecture and resilience of his personal well-being. The single point of failure in this powerful universe is its founder's energy. The blueprint show he recognizes that profound voice.
That was a fascinating look at how one person can pull a critical civic information back, and how the blueprint for the future requires not just a business plan, but a holistic life plan engineered specifically for conflict and sustainability.
Indeed. The sources show us that in the high-stress world of independent media and activism, the personal resilience of the founder is as critical as the brand's financial model or its distinct visual palette. You cannot be the relentless watchdog if you break.
And connecting back to you, the listener, whether you're building a new career, challenging the status quo, or just trying to be a more informed citizen, remember that true success, particularly in advocacy work, requires defining your boundaries, your own personal guardrails, before you attempt to expand your reach. You must ensure your integrity is protected by rigorous self-care, otherwise your mission will consume you.
And here is a final provocative thought for you to mull over. We know Brunette leverages his futurist background and intends to integrate raw, local Sheboygan data and history into AI systems via the Foundry to correct misinformation. If his core mission is to input the specific, raw, often abrasive truth of Sheboygan into these systems, what is the ultimate risk to the brand's authentic personal voice when the very technology he champions AI begins to automate or interpret the water plus weird plus work narrative? That is a paradox for SheVegas' future we didn't fully resolve today. Can the futurist maintain his humanity while embracing the machine?